Can you feel the excitement? Everybody's so excited tonight. Ooh. I'll give you a line and you give it back to me. Ready? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo Sadanto Suchedoye Olahudi Samyao Samputoshe Ami Tofo Gowe. Okay. Well, this is very exciting. I'm excited myself. I'm so happy to have a chance. I'd like to pay my respects, first of all, to the Sangha here, gathered from, they say, Zhushang Zhanlao, from all the different mountains, and also to my dear friends from the Singapore Buddhist Lodge, Dharma Master Heng Sure, and all of our scholars, grandparents, grandchildren. Tonight I have a surprise for you. Uh-oh. What does that mean? I'm going to teach you how to sit in full lotus. Oh, no. Not in your chair. Let's get started. I want to tell you about my experience with meditation, which was I grew up as an athlete. I was what was called a four-season athlete. In the summer, it was baseball. In the autumn, it was football. In the winter, it was basketball. In the spring, it was golf and tennis. I was a four-season athlete. And all of my baseball-playing, football-playing buddies had no idea that secretly, in my room at home, I was crossing my legs to meditate. If they had seen their glue-fingered end and their jump shooting forward and their baseball pitching buddy sitting like this at age 14 in my room, they would have thought that there was something very strange going on. In Toledo, Ohio, back in the 1960s, there may not have been half a dozen meditators, but I was one of them. I have no idea why, but I went to the library and I found a book called Lives of the Bengal Lancers. Lives of the Bengal Lancers talked about some British soldier in the Raj who came to India to occupy India, and he discovered meditation. And he was excited about all the wonderful things that meditation taught, including watching one Swami take 4 colored cloths, red, green, yellow, blue, swallow them down dry, and then bring them back in any order you ask. Yellow first, red first, blue first, green first. And I was like, ooh, that's so cool. I had no idea what was involved, but I knew that there was something here to learn. So that was my beginning. I was meditating at age 14 with no guidance, no understanding, probably following something from my past. But then, the first day of my college career, coming with my parents to my university in Michigan, carrying suitcases, opened the door to my dormitory the very first day, and here was my college roommate, someone I was going to meet going to stay with for 4 more years, sitting like this. Zazen shimasu. Oh, so desu ka? Honto desu ne. Moshiroi desho. Sitting in full lotus, doing zazen, right? His older brother in Providence, Rhode Island, had met a Korean Dharma master, Songsan Sunim, who had taught him Korean-style Chan meditation called Zen, Korean Zen. I had no idea. but something in my body recognized that posture. It was electrically integrated, if that makes sense. 眼观鼻，鼻观口，口观心. The electricity circulated in my roommate's body, and I had no idea, but my eyes recognized there was something very wonderful happening here. So I said, first thing I did was I closed the door. I didn't want to bother him, So we're standing there, what's he doing? My parents, what's he doing in there? I don't know. So we, after that, he came out and said, oh, please come in. And first chance I had, I said, what was that? He said, that's Zazen. I'll teach you. From day number 2 until 4 years later, every day, my roommate, the future Bhikshu Heng Yo, and I did Zazen together in college. Who knew, right? In Michigan, there was probably a half a dozen people who knew to sit in full lotus. That's my personal history. However, when I got to Gold Mountain Monastery, which was another 3 years later, everything that I thought I knew about meditation went out the window. I had to start over and learn from a true Chan master. What do you suppose I learned? It's going to be a surprise. All right, are you ready? That's my introduction. Here we go. Oh, come back. I don't want to spoil the surprise. Okay, here we go. Taking meditation deeper. Is there a secret? This is my new title. I checked this out with Heng Sure today during noon. I said, is it okay if I talk about this? And he said, should be good. So it passed approval yet. All right, here we go. Is there a secret? What I'm going to share tonight came from what I learned at Gold Mountain Monastery about real Chan. The answer is pay attention to your mind, the mind ground, Xin Di Fa Men. It has very little to do with full lotus or no lotus, half lotus. It has everything to do with our intention and how we are, how we live as people. Berkeley Monastery, 1995, monastery that I started in Berkeley, California, called the Institute for World Religions, 法界宗教研究院. We taught Wednesday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we opened our Buddha Hall for other groups. It was really the Institute for World Religion. Thursday night was Spirit Rock. People may have heard about Spirit Rock. It's James Barra's and the Insight meditation tradition, Jack Kornfield. And we were in the East Bay of the Bay Area, Berkeley and Oakland. And so the Spirit Rock East Bay group started coming every Thursday night, 25 years. They started in 1995, they're still coming. It's a Vipassana group, which gave birth to mindfulness, this very, very popular new practice that is so important now in Singapore and worldwide. The teacher, James, periodically goes on retreat. And when he goes on retreat, he calls me and says, excuse me, Dharma Master, could I ask you to please teach in my stead? Could you cover for me? He says. So he said, I'll be gone for 2 weeks. I said, okay, I'll do your 2 weeks. And so this is a lay group of meditators, 90 Americans, most of them psychotherapists. Interestingly, they're all interested in the psychological side of Buddhism and meditation. So I looked at them and I thought, okay, here we go. You all like to meditate, you sit in chairs, you do mindfulness, Vipassana, Guan, Xin, Guan, Shi, Guan, Jisi, Guan. I said, I'll give you some homework. I'll teach you how I learned Chan. You ready? And they go, yeah. We don't like the sound of this. Here's your homework. I said, I want you to go back this week I'll be with you for 2 weeks, and find a significant elder. Not a significant other, a significant elder. Find a significant elder, someone who maybe it's your related, grandmother, grandfather, maybe it's your own parents, maybe it's a lonely old person in your condominium or in your block, and go say this. Say to them, I have started to meditate, and I realize that my life is finite. I'm going to die. I'm just aware that this unit of my body is going to wear out, and you are older than I am, you're wiser than I am, you have more experience than I do, and I really hope, could you give me some time and share with me some of your experiences so I can learn how to be a better person on the road of life? I said, go ask them that. And I said, if you find an elder who is not willing to tell you stories about their life, that's a very lonely person. And you better, ask them twice. I said, most likely that elder will say, how nice of you, please come in, have some cookies and have some tea. They will be thrilled that a young person wanted to hear about their life. I said, okay, you all ready? Go home and here's your homework. And they go, okay, right? So 1 week was by. Second week, come in, 80, 90 people, meditators in there. I said, okay, who wants to tell me what happened? Who was first to share your story of meeting your significant elder in your life? Not one hand went up. I'm like, oh, nobody? How come you're not going to share what happened? Dharma Master, we don't have significant elders in our lives. We're Americans. I thought so. I thought that was probably the case. In our culture, the idea of standing on your roots as a human, it's not there yet. We're too young, right? Too young as a culture. And then one woman raises her hand. Sumaya. Sumaya says, actually, Dharma Master, I did what you asked. And everybody goes, oh, Sumaya, we didn't know you had a mom. We've never met your mom. She said, yeah, let me tell you my story, she says. She says, I've been meditating now with James for years, 3, 4, 5 years. But recently, she said, as my meditation gets deeper, I've been experiencing this kind of emptiness here. I just don't feel really connected. It's kind of cold and dry. There's no juice flowing, she said. But somehow you gave us that homework exercise, and it was exactly the right time. She said, I started to think about my mom. And she said, what my situation is? She says, my mom, she's just one of those Jewish moms. She had a song that she sang. And maybe some of you Singaporeans can relate. My mom used to nag me. She always said, you know what's wrong with you, Sumaya? I'll tell you what's wrong with you. Everything is wrong with you. The way you dress, the way you walk, the way you think. Everything is wrong. She said she used to sing that song all the time. I got so tired of it, I couldn't stand it anymore, so I left. I moved away. She said, it's been 10 years since I've talked to my mom. And everyone's like, whoa, 10 years. She said, yeah. And it's funny, Reverend Heng Sure said, go find an elder. And I thought, it's time. It's time to talk to my mom. So I opened the drawer, the knee-hole drawer in my desk, and I pulled everything away. And I found her phone number in the back of the drawer. And I thought, there it is. And I called her. And as soon as she heard my voice, she said, you know what's wrong with you? You never call me. That's what's wrong with you. I said, Mom, you're so cute. You haven't changed. And so I thought, I'll go find Mom. And so that night, immediately I did. I walked the 10 blocks to her house. She only lived 10 blocks away, but 10 years had passed. And she opened the door, and she was smaller than I remember. Seems like she had shrunk a little bit. And she looked up at me and says, it's you, Sumaya. You know what's wrong with you. You never come and see me. That's what's wrong with you. And I said, Mom, and I gave her a big hug. And she just melted. And we sat down together and we talked all night. And the next day, believe it or not, I decided I was going to move in with her. So she said, and most of the women in the room went, moving back in with your mom. She said, but here's the important part. From that day on, every time I meditated, my entire chest was warm. Everything connected. That emptiness was gone, she said. And everybody in the room was like, oh? John, the building inspector from the city of Oakland. John is about 6'3". He's got a big beard. He's got a big gruff voice. He laughs, ha, 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 like that. He never talks. John is just one of those guys. He does the hard work. He goes to buildings and puts the green tab on, or doesn't. The green tag, which means you can go ahead and make the changes, Tough building inspector. Nobody expects John as a meditator. He is a deep, deep Vipassana meditator. John says, I have a story I'll tell you. And everyone's like, oh, he talks. John says, when you gave us that, I'll spare you the accent, I'll just talk normal. All right. He says, you gave us that assignment. It just was perfect. He said, my dad? He said, my dad, here in California, my dad belonged to one of those doomsday cults that you hear about in Los Angeles, where they have a prophet who says, on this day there will be 7 suns in the sky and the earth will end, My dad really believed that. He really believed in it. And, he was all in with this cult. And the day that the prophet predicted the earth would end, my dad went with everybody down to the beach at Santa Monica, and they looked towards the east because the prediction was the sun would not rise. He said, you know what happened? The sun rose just as normal every time. And my dad's faith was broken. He just thought that the world had ended, and he went down to Bakersfield, and he got a cabin on the edge of the desert and just stays inside the room. And me and my sister knew where he was, but he would never answer the phone, and that was my dad. But Reverend Heng Sure said, let's go connect to a senior, an elder. I got in my car and I drove the 8 hours down to Bakersfield, and says, believe it or not, hadn't seen my dad for years. I knocked on the door. His voice said, John, is that you? He said. And I opened the door and I walked in, and my dad said, I kind of thought it might be you, John. What are you doing? And I said, Dad, would you like to meditate together? Dad said, yes. I sat and meditated with my dad overnight the next day, and he said, we're together again. And somehow just the timing was right. And now I feel like I can come out of the closet as a meditator, because I can do it with my dad, he said. And everybody in the room, these 80 other people, are like, oh, right? So, what did we hear at Gold Mountain Monastery from a real Chan master? He said, 要栽培心地，要用功德来张扬菩提种子. He said, you want to nurture and fertilize the ground of the mind. He said, grow your own internal 功德. Powerful word. We're going to be looking at these words tomorrow in our translation workshop. What does it mean to say 张扬内在佛性的功德? You grow the merit and virtue of your nature. I didn't know how to translate these words, but I knew they were important. This is what a Chan master said. Sumaya and John experienced it without the Buddhist vocabulary. They were doing just that. Sumaya reported, once she reconnected with her human roots, her chest was warm when she meditated. Who would think the relationship was missing? Our fundamental human roots. We are not isolated units, friends. 我们不是什么孤独的单位，真的是这样子。Okay, so John, the building inspector, was fertilizing, was developing his own merit and virtue when he took the time to go find his dad and meditate with him. Right? How wonderful! 栽培自己心地, nurture the ground of the mind. She said, after I reconnected with my mom, when I meditated, my whole chest felt warm. John's father said, meditating with you is my best spiritual experience. I feel like I've been saved. Because the dad wanted to be saved by the cult leader, but it took his son to save him. 大家注意这点, huh? So, when we meditate, here's the secret. Set yourself an intention. Why am I meditating today? I do this every time when I cross my legs. First thing I do is, my intention today, I want to open up my Buddha nature. I want to put fertilizer on the mind ground, the ground of the mind. This is an analogy. What is the Xindi? The Xindi, the ground of the mind, it's like a garden. The Chan master Xuanbong Shangren, who is the disciple of Master Xu Yun, he is the 9th elder, patriarch, ancestor of the Weiyang lineage. He says, pay attention to the mind ground. It's like a garden. The ground of the mind is like a garden inside. And what are we growing today? What seeds are we planting? That's the question to ask. Why am I meditating today? That answer could be very, very different. Now, when I was younger, my answer would have been, because I want to get enlightened. 我要开悟, 我要开悟. Please sell me a 6-pack of 开悟. I want the giant economy size of 开悟. I'll buy it, I don't care. I'll kill someone to get 开悟. Nah, 不懂. You know. But that was I was a consumer. I was trained to be a consumer, that you can buy anything, right? I had no idea that real Dharma, 无知一无得, right? You don't get anything, you get rid of things to get enlightened. What do you get rid of? Well, what's on your mind ground? Before we begin, what's on the mind ground? Broken glass, maybe an old car tire, hard ground, weeds, right? Newspaper. We don't have newspaper anymore. Nobody has newspaper. Things that just blow onto this vacant lot of the mind ground. So this is the 比喻. This is our analogy. The mind ground is like a side lot that's just been ignored, right? So what do you have to do? You get the rototiller of the Dharma. You get a shovel of wisdom, right? You get the pick of cultivation. And you break open the ground. Big pieces become small pieces. Smaller pieces become what's called tilth, T-I-L-T-H. You add fertilizer and amendments, and you water it. You put a little fence around it. Now it's ready to plant. Meditation is the process of opening up the ground of the mind, Xindi, right? That's what we do. Here we go. Take a look. Whatever is on our mind will come up when we meditate, because the mind ground will grow anything. The mind ground is very fertile. The Xindi. You can grow evil. You can grow incredible good. People who think meditation is an escape clearly have not sat still and listened to the mind. As soon as you do, whatever is there, you need to listen to it, because that's what's on the mind ground. That's what you're growing. Sumaya felt empty until she fertilize the mind ground with filiality. Here we go. What is on our mind? Take a look. The ancients said, the quality of your meditation will improve by how authentically we live into each of these three worlds. Okay, this is interesting. Why am I talking about this for meditation? Because this is the real deal. This is the real thing. This is not magic. This is hard work. We have the qi shijian, the zhongsheng shijian, and the zhengjue shijian. Are we awake in these worlds? If so, our meditation will be profound. What are the three worlds? There is the material world, there's the world of relationships, and there's the world of the spirit. Take a look. What's the material world? We talk about tong ti da bei. Well, there's this world, the small planet, Earth, and we live in a bigger planet, Earth, tong ti, same body. We share it with everyone. What's it made of? Well, it's made of earth, di da, right? Bones, tendons, teeth, hairs. So are humans, so are fish, so are insects, so are animals, right? What else? There is the element of air, the feng da, heart, lungs, arteries, ears, nose, eyes, humans, fish, birds, insects, same. Tong ti da bei. What else? Huo da, 98.6 Fahrenheit. I don't know. What is Celsius? Any doctors? What is the body temperature? What should it be? 30 what? 35, 36? Is that it? So, just like humans, fish, animals, also there is the water, shui, da. Di shui huo feng, shared among all beings, okay? That is the qi shijian, plus all the things we use. Our thermoses, our alarm clocks, our computers. That's all the qi shijian, we share them. Now, pay attention here. This is what Master Xuanhua said makes the meditation work. And the thing is, this is not the body. Doesn't matter how old we are. Doesn't matter what gender, male, female, other. Doesn't matter what race. Doesn't matter. The world of relationships, Heng Shun Zhong Sheng, this is the secret to better meditation. Is it a science? Is it an art? Is it a skill that you learn in school? Is it just natural? No. If it was, we would have fewer afflictions, for sure. Right? The Bodhisattva path, Han Chuan Fo Jiao, Da Chang Fo Fa, requires relationships with living beings. When I first started meditating, I thought I was going to sit under a tree and get enlightened overnight, in the weekend. Right? Bodhi or bust. Right? Who knew that I needed to learn how to be a better person in relation to my parents, my friends? Why do we hold precepts? Because when you kill, who do you kill? Somebody. When you steal, who do you steal from? Somebody else. Who do you cheat on? If you break the third precept, somebody. Who do we lie to? Other people. The precepts, that first step into cultivation, has to do with relationships. If we don't kill, steal, lust, lie, drug ourselves, we are still in a relationship, but it's a beneficial one. The Bodhisattva makes vows to save self. The Bodhi resolve comes in two parts. This all has to do with relationships. All right, I'm making the point that this is what we discover when we meditate. How do I relate skillfully with my family? If only, when it was time to talk to my dad, I could download a PDF and get it right? Not so easy. Is there a manual for understanding that guai wu across the breakfast table called your son, your teenage son? Not so easy, right? Teenagers come from another planet. They really do, right? Their bodies are changing every hour. They don't know. They wake up in the morning and they're new. They don't know how to do. Is there an online tutorial for coping with aging parents? If only. Oh my goodness. We have an elderly monk who is now on the edge of dementia, and he's not there. His body is there. The old monk we knew, no longer there. Relationships. We have to learn our entire life. Here's a new relationship. My flesh and creatures' flesh are different only in name. Although we come in many shapes, our nature is the same. Right? Look at this. 我肉中生肉，名殊体不殊，圆通一种性，只是别心躯。Look at this faithful creature. He's got that loving stare, right? Here's a relationship. How are we doing with that relationship? Skill in meditation awaits my working through so many relationships. Otherwise, when you go to meditate, that's on your mind. Here we are in Vancouver, Jinfo Si, Gold Buddha, a realtor, David Z, Xu Lide. He's a good Buddhist, kind of comes on weekends, he's very enthusiastic, has no particular practice or skill. He decides he wants to get married, so he goes to China, comes back with a new wife. Unfortunately, she was a Hongwei being. She was a Red Guard from the Wenge, Wenhua Dagoming, Wushan Lun. She believes that religion is poison, religion is death, right? So he brings her to the monastery, and she runs out the door. And Shulida, that night, he comes back to the monastery late at night, and he's got something wrapped in a blanket. What is it? He opens it up. It's a beautiful Yao Shi Fo Xiang, medicine Buddha image, about this big, beautiful, very zhuangyan. He says, 师父, Master Hua was there that weekend. 师父, 我的太太那个斧头要把它拆了, 他说. My wife took an axe. She was going to destroy medicine Buddha. He said, I saved it. He says, 师父, can I leave home? 师父 says, 许立德, 你刚刚结婚了, 你这样子. He said, I have a method. Here's what you can do. You can leave home, but first, he said, you have to make peace in your home. Make peace in your kitchen. When you can cross over your wife in the kitchen, I will let you leave home. Now, it's not that I'm cruel, but I know how it works. He says, you can be in the monastery here with your legs crossed meditating, but where is your mind? Your mind is thinking about your brand new wife. You just won't be able to put her down. He said, you have to deal with your relationships first. Then you can leave home. So Xu Lide said, okay, sure. So he went home, and, 3-4 weeks later, he brought his wife for lunch. She came and she ate vegetarian, and she looked around, And then she came back 2 weeks later. She said, that was really good food. So she ate a little more, and then she came back a week later, volunteered to work in the kitchen. After that, she said, I hear about this repentance. I want to try She started bowing her repentance. Pretty soon, she moved in. Xu Lide, bit by bit, drifted away. But the wife was there and really strong. So, crossing over. We live in multiple relationships at once. We are all descendants of ancestors. 我们都是前辈的下一代. We are all children of parents, right? Anybody who was not born from parents, do not raise your hand. We don't want to know. Some of us are parents of children. I am not, but we have these relationships in our body right this minute, inside our skin. Invisibly, we hold all these relationships. We are husbands of spouses or wives of spouses, right? We are brothers and sisters of siblings. 兄弟姐妹就说弟弟哥哥姐姐妹妹We are students of teachers. Think back. How many generations of that knowledge being passed on through us in this room tonight? How much knowledge is here in our chairs tonight? All different kinds, right? And we're holding it now to pass on. Those are relationships. They're in us and alive right now. We wake up into the San Shi Jian, Qi Shi Jian, Zheng Sheng Shi Jian, Zheng Jue Shi Jian. We are friends of friends. Right this minute, in our skin. We are citizens, employees, teammates, etc. Right? Right this minute, this is the Zheng Sheng Shi Jian. We bring all of these together every time we meditate. How are we doing with our relationships? If we can set them straight and be together, in our heart, doing the best we can to live into these relationships, our meditation will be unobstructed. 无拘无束,无挂无碍,明心见性. Right? So, this is real stuff. Not magic, not special words, right? Okay. We stand on our roots. Who are my human roots? Parents, grandparents, ancestors, teachers. Trees stand on their roots. People stand on the roots that are our parents. Who would think? Really, really true. Let's take a look here. I got a little graphic part of the presentation. You know, when we see a tree, it's only half of the tree. The other half is invisible. That's right. When we look at a person, we're only seeing the current manifestation. Behind each and every one of you that I'm looking at, there are two people. Invisibly, but really there. We came from them. They each came from two more people, and those two people came from two. Back. We are the current manifestation of a line of human ancestors. The half of it, the rooted part is invisible. So interesting. When you look at a tree, visualize the deeper half. What's that deeper half? It holds the tree stable, and it also feeds it. Okay? Anybody take care of trees? Are you an arborist? Silviculture, S-I-L-V-A culture. Silviculture is the taking care of trees, it's called. You didn't know you were going to learn that tonight, did you? That's okay. You don't have to pay me more. That's for free. New vocabulary. Silviculture. All right. Arborists. We take care of trees. I, at one point, was in charge of the fruit trees at City of 10,000 Buddhas. 50 varieties of apples. Not 50 trees, 50 varieties of apples. The landscape at City of 10,000 Buddhas was planned and executed by Luther Burbank, one of the great pioneers of fruit trees. So what I learned was, when you water a tree, don't spray the water at the trunk. You spray the drip line. Where's the drip line? Walk out to the farthest extent of the thinnest branch and go down. That's where the roots are. That's where the roots feed. Certain trees' roots are very deep. Mostly, they're wide. So you water around the drip line. That's where the roots are. Interesting. Who would think? Take a look. The roots are bigger than the tree. Our ancestors are with us. If we awake into the 众生时间, we meditate with them. Meditate with your ancestors, and your sitting will be stable. It will go deep. 打坐的时候，跟我们的祖先一起打坐，好几代，那个时候做得非常稳定，想不到。This is a secret. Nobody talks like this, right? Check it out. Okay, anybody can name this one? I'll give you 5 points. Anybody know? That'd be tough. Maybe you can tell by the wall back here. This is 天台山国清寺, right? 浙江省. This is one of the trees, a camphor tree, 樟脑树, at 天台山国清寺. Okay, look at the generations. This is the source. This is the root, and here's the branch tip. Okay, find the parents. Here is grandma, here is grandpa. Look at him, stiff as a board. Look at him. And yet, he gave birth to who? Twins. And this is the Didi right here. Ooh, is he proud. But what a wonderful family, right? All right. More twins, 2 sets of twins. And look at grandma. Oh my goodness. She gave birth to 2 sets of twins. Look at grandpa with his beard. He's probably about 50, but he looks about 90, right? Life was hard back then. Okay. Let's see, we got time. Yeah, I can tell the story. During Three Steps, One Bow, a pilgrimage that I took at one point, bowing to the city of 10,000 Buddhas, we got to Cambria, California. This is one of the small cities in central California. And the Hyatt family came out one day. We were bowing, it was raining, and this Volkswagen bus pulled up beside the two bowing monks, myself and my companion, at about 11 o'clock, just time for the noon break for lunch. And the door slid open, and the father, John Hyatt, came out and said, "Hey," he said, "we saw you bowing. Could we offer you a meal?" So I was silent at the time. The other monk said, "Yeah, we'd be happy to accept. We don't eat onions and garlic or any meat." He said, "Well, we know that. We're ready for you." So they said, "Come into the van." So to come out of the rain with our wet robes and everything, we jumped in the Volkswagen van, and here were the mom, two babies, and in the front seat was somebody wrapped in a blanket. And so we got in, closed the door, and the windows steamed up right away. You know, it was nice and cozy in the Volkswagen van. And John Hyatt said, "I want you to meet my father, Papa Joe," he said. And the figure in the blanket turned around, and it was an old, old man, no teeth. And he said, "Hello." He said, "Hello." It's Papa Joe. And so John said, "We'd like to offer, you can do chanting." So we're Gong Yang Qing Jing Fa Shen Pi Ru Zhen O Fo. We chanted, made an offering to the Da Peng Jin Shi Niao, did all the right things. And then we enjoyed soup and sandwiches and corn on the cob, wonderful lunch, fresh peaches. And John said, "You know," he said, "we came out to Cambria. Cambria is a really small town, and I got my degree in education. I was a high school teacher, and I arrived in a time when there were no jobs for high school teachers." So he said, "We really had a hard time. Myself and my wife Rose and our two babies had come. And so Rose had to get a job at the restaurant, and I tried to do handiwork, and just things were not working out. We were really hard times." And he said, "But just then, you know, we got the news that Papa Joe had had a stroke back in Ohio, where we came from," he said. "And so I talked to Rose, and we talked it over, and we thought, what should we do? Well, the other siblings didn't want to take care of him, and it was kind of up to us. And so we talked to each other, and we said, we want to bring Papa Joe out here, but we can't. We're already having trouble. Hard to make ends meet. Plus, we have a small, tiny place to live. So how can we do it?" She looked at me, and I looked at her, and she said, "But you know, it's the right thing to do," he said. So we called everybody, said, "John's going to go back, buy an extra plane ticket. We'll bring Papa Joe out to California. And if we have to suffer, we'll all suffer together. It's the right thing to do," right in our hearts. So we did. And Papa Joe came out, and he's just a ray of sunshine. His heart is, even though he had a stroke, he's never sad, he's never upset. And strange to say, he said, as soon as we got him here, this house appeared. We rebuilt it. We had plenty of room for the two kids, room for Papa Joe, and one for us, he said. And I got a job. A job opened up in the high school. And all these blessings came to us because we took care of our elder. He said, "We really know that the blessings of a good life came because we, you could say, fertilized our roots," he said. And Papa Joe turns around and says, "I'm from Ohio," he said. I said, "So am I." I grew up in Ohio. "Oh, we're from Ohio." So what a wonderful experience of seeing the principle of 栽培心力, taking care, fertilizing our roots, paying attention to the foundation. Filiality, this word, is rare. If you take your phone and type in filiality, it auto-corrects to following. It doesn't even have it in your phone. It comes from the French word fils, which means child, right? Filial respect. By the way, we don't say filial piety. Do a big red X over piety. Piety is something nobody wants. That was a mistranslation that came with the British early translators. 孝顺, filial respect, filial regard, not piety. Okay, comes from child, fils. The idea is, now, I know there are people sitting here right tonight who they hear, oh my God, he's talking about filial piety. I'm out of here. I'm going to check my phone. Let's see if I got an email, Hang on there. Take everything that Chinese culture has transmitted over the thousands of years to today in Singapore about filial respect, 孝道, 孝顺, set it aside and take the Buddhist explanation of 孝顺 from a Chan master and try it on. Okay? Give me a break. See if you can try out, taste this new interpretation. What is the new interpretation of filiality from a Chan master, Xuanhua Shangren? He said, 知恩报恩. He said, 知恩, recognize when people have been kind to you and find a way to give it back. Find a way to continue the good energy. That's it. Never mind 听话, 无逆不孝. That kind of, that hard-edged filiality that locks you into some sort of behavior. It's not that. Filiality, take it from someone who had no idea about filiality. In America, we don't talk about this. It's not there. It's not part of the culture. We're too new. But Chinese, Indian culture, filiality is the beginning of virtue. 孝悌忠信礼义廉耻思维八德. Roots of Chinese culture that has made Chinese civilization so stable for thousands of years, it begins here. Buddhist cultivation of the mind ground and your success in meditation starts in the same place. That's my surprise tonight. Are you surprised? No, Dharma Master, we're disappointed. We wanted to get enlightened. Okay, all right. So hang on, we're not done yet. All right. So, 知恩报恩, recognize that kindness has been done to you and find a way to pay it back. Think of Sumaya. It took her 10 years to get past Mom's, you know what's wrong with you? I'll tell you what's wrong with you. She had to live with that, but then she recognized that she had roots in her life that had not been fertilized. And when she did, all it took was to give her mom a hug and to endure and to go back and connect. And suddenly, boom, every time she sat, warm, connected, rooted, grounded, opening up to insight as a result of standing on her roots as a person. Giving back makes us happy. All right, are we ready? Amidofo. Let's see here. Did I bring it? Let's see if I can find it. Wish to repay. There it is. Open up. Yeah, we'll do that one. Let's make it bigger, please. Okay. Okay, this is a sing-along. Last night we discovered that together we make Singapore's largest Buddhist choir. So don't forget your role. Your part goes like this. Thank you to the universe. Thank you to the earth and sky. I may not repay my parents' kindness, but every day I try. You want to try? Here we go. Thank you to the universe. Thank you to the earth and sky. I may not repay my parents' kindness, but every day I try. Okay, I'll tell you when to come in. Ready? People ask me, what did you get from your meditation? Are you enlightened? Have you ended your frustration? The wise men and women who woke up, all those I reviewed, say the highest state is a wish to repay, a heart of gratitude. Ready? Here we go. Thank you to the universe. Thank you to the earth and sky. I may not repay my parents' kindness, but every day I try. How many years did I waste waiting for my prize, for my ship to finally come in, for my payoff to arrive? But joy comes not from getting, but from giving it all away. Sages say once you see the Tao, you feel a wish to repay. 知恩报恩. Ready? Thank you to the universe. Thank you to the earth and sky. I may not repay my parents' kindness, but every day I try. Now, how about teachers' kindness, right? I may not repay my teacher's kindness, but every day I try. How about the planet? All the food that we ate today? I may not repay the planet's kindness, but every day I try. Back to our parents last time. I may not repay my parents' kindness, but every day I try. Wish to repay. All right. So, true talk. Who would think that meditation is here? What a surprise. All right. Next. By the way, thank you for singing along. That sounds so good from where I'm sitting. I get to hear all of you. It's really nice. All right. That's me. Age 14. And I had just discovered meditation, but what am I looking at? A golf bag. So here's the story. 知恩报恩, knowing kindness and wanting to repay it. So what is a young boy, a teenager, a young man, just body is already getting to be an adult, but the mind is still a kid, you know? And yet the hormones are in there, and you're new every day. There's all these strange things you have to deal with. That's my parents' living room where I grew up. So my dad was a golfer. And every day he was a lawyer, and he would argue with labor bosses. He was a corporate lawyer for a company in Toledo, and he would argue with the bosses about weekends and about insurance and salary all day long. When he came home from work, he was like, all wound up. So I would see my dad come home, and I would go and grab the bag of, they called them shagged golf balls that had a cut in the ball because they were no longer valuable. And I would get my dad's golf bag, and he would come home and take off his tie and his coat and pick up his hat and put on his golf shoes, and he would look at the bag and grab either maybe a 4-wood or possibly a 5-iron, and he would say, "You want to go shag some balls?" "Yeah, Dad." "Okay." And then we would walk to the public park 3 blocks away. And it was about 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and nobody was playing the round. This was the 3rd hole. And you'd have to start at sunset to get to the 3rd hole by 6 o'clock. So I would look at the club he had and know how far the club hit. And then I would dump out the bag. And then I would run down at the appropriate length, maybe 50 yards, maybe 100 yards. And my dad would start to pop, pop. hit the golf balls, and every time he hit a ball, he was hitting the head of the labor boss, right? Just like, therapy, golf therapy. And I would chase the ball and put it in the bag, chase the ball, put it in the bag, chase the ball. And by the time the mosquitoes had come out and the sun was just about down, my dad had gone through maybe 100 golf balls, and he was much calmer. And I would come back, and he would say, "You want to hit a couple?" And I go, "Yeah." And I would dump a couple out, and he would correct my golf swing and teach me how to hit a golf ball. And so my birthday, Halloween, October 31st, coming right up, by the way. And hint, hint. No, I can't do that. That's all right. So on my 14th birthday, he gave me a golf bag. And my dad played with some friends. Of course, you go in a foursome, 4 people, tee off together and go 18 holes. And whoever plays with the foursome is a buddy. He's a peer, P-E-E-R, right? He's an equal. After he gave me the golf bag, he said, "You want to join the foursome?" I'm like, it's a rite of passage. It's like approval as a man, you know. So that was a big deal for a 14-year-old boy to be invited to join my dad's foursome. Okay, now my dad was a big, tough war hero athlete from Canada, from Quebec. He rarely smiled, but luckily my mother had a camera, and she was standing beside me and pointing it at my dad, and she caught that look. That's as much as my dad ever smiled. 知恩报恩, right? Recognize when kindness is done to you and think to pay it back. Now, notice, not filial piety, but filial respect, 孝道. Notice the child is underneath the 老, right? 老子. The child is supporting the adult, the elder, simply by standing on the roots. There's a relationship here that is vertical, right? Just like the picture of the tree, the child is the roots of the elder's wisdom, knowledge, mission, vision, all of the above. So I think this is a new and useful interpretation of 孝顺. It's not 听话, obey me. All right? So I know I'm talking to thousands of years of Chinese culture, but this is how Master Hsuan Hua introduced the Dharma in the West to people who had never heard of filiality, didn't have this relationship. 宣化上人就是这样子介绍禅宗参禅打坐，他先从心地开始。心地呢，怎么开发呢？就是先从道德。那道德怎么开始呢？孝悌忠信礼练。那孝顺不是什么单独、什么干燥的、什么听话，不是。知恩报恩。How do we know? Sit still and listen what comes up. When we meditate, it's a laboratory for this principle. When we sit still, what comes up is what's on your mind. If what's on my mind are all the broken relationships I have not paid attention to, get to work. Your meditation will wait until those roots go deep. Put the roots down in your relationships. There it is. There it is. Right? See what happens when we do this. That's even nicer. Okay. Take a look. Okay. This little one depends entirely upon the big one. But the big one knows that he's been a disappointment to his father, and his wife is no longer happy with him, and so he's got all his hopes on success on his son, right? He knows his own limitations. He's just probably not going to progress more in his development, so he's got his hopes on the next generation. Mutual relating. Same here, right? She thinks this is all my dreams that didn't come true, my daughter is going to realize them. And the daughter, look at her, she's just so self-important. She's like, Mom is just always here to support me. Mom's just that's what moms do, you know. This is the way the relationship. Look at this one. She scolds her, and she scolds her, so she goes to her after she's been scolded by this one. Grandma makes it all better, and then the grandma loves the daughter and is disappointed in her at the same time, and so on it goes, right? This is the relationship, and right in the middle of it is this beating heart. Check it out. Round we go. Oh my goodness. 4 kids. Probably these are twins. Oh no, triplets. Can you imagine every birthday? You can't leave one out. 3 gifts. You imagine tuition? 3 different tuitions getting to school. Oh, 3 prom dresses. Oh my God. This is a boy. 2 boys. Maybe 3 boys. I don't know. So prom tuxedos. 3 of them. 3 driving tests. Driver's license. Oh. 3 military careers. Oh my goodness. Oh no. Look at this one used to be the prince. He was the boss, and then she came along. He's thinking of how to make her life miserable. Yeah. Here is one family in Colorado. This is a German family in Colorado. Oh my goodness. Think of the birthdays, right? Think of the dinner table. Yeah. Now, not just Buddhism, commandment number 5. I usually, if I'm if I'm lecturing in a situation where people have read the Bible, I quiz them. I say, tell me Testament 10 Commandments number 5. And they go, it's that one about parents, right? Yeah. I say, yeah, but how does it go? Well, everybody knows it. You know, it's just something about father and mother, right? It goes, honor your father and mother so that your days will be long in the land and all will go well with you. Let's unpack that. Tomorrow we're going to talk about decoding the Dharma, taking the code out of the Dharma. Decode commandment number 5. Honor your father and mother. Why? So that you'll stick around. Your days will be long in the land. What does that mean? It means your roots will go down and the tree will survive. You will still be here if you honor your father and mother, and the roots are deep, and when the winds blow, the tree leans but comes back. Okay? What else? Everything goes well. Your life will be good once you set your relationships in order. Furthermore, your meditation will be great, unobstructed. How about that? That's such a rich... Who would think? The first 4, right? Thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. When you get to 5, it talks about parents. Thou shalt. Right? So, every time I say this... Now, I'm going to move this away here. Every time I present this, no matter where I am, whether it's Singapore, whether it's Sydney, at the Gold Coast, Berkeley, whether it's in, Paris or London, people come up to me, usually after the lecture, and they go, hey, you go talking about this parent stuff. You don't know my old man. He's a son of a bitch. You telling me I'm supposed to go back to that abusive guy? Am I supposed to get beaten up some more? And I said, of course not. Of course not. No, I'm not suggesting that every relationship is wholesome. I'm saying that we came from invisibly two people who invisibly came from two invisible people who came from two invisible people. What if my parents were abusive? Or, as in many cases now, one of them was absent. My colleague at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery is a guy named Doug Powers. Doug taught at Berkeley High School for 36 years. There's an entire generation of students who know Mr. Powers taught them about AP classes, psychology, history, philosophy, etc. Doug says back in the 70s when he first started at Berkeley High, he said the ratio of children who came from two-parent families was pretty much 75 to 80% had both parents at home. When he finished in the thousands, when he ended his career as teaching at Berkeley High, he said it was exactly the opposite. It was 20% of the students came from families where both parents were there. 70% came from 单亲的家庭 or group parents or some other thing. It completely reversed. What if our parents are absent? Am I supposed to connect to a troubled relationship? No. So how does this work? And how will it impact my meditation is the question. Filiality means repaying kindness, 知恩报恩. Now, it means looking inside to that primary relationship. What if when I sit and what comes up is an ache and a yearning for something missing? What do I do in that case? Right? Real question. This is a specific. This is not a principle. This is not an idea. This is reality. Right? So many of us, you could say. Or what if my mom is a tiger mom? And what if she is just on my case, and because I'm 25 and not married, she's just makes my life miserable, right? What do I do then? How do I be filial? 知什么恩报什么恩呢? Right? Reality. Let's look at it. And how does that impact my meditation? Okay? Here's the thing. When we sit, whatever is in our heart on the shindi will come up. Often it is dukkha. Often it is cool. All right? What do? Listen to it. What is it telling us? It's telling us that in our nature, whether we are men or women, there is a need for these two, what you could call archetypes, these two modes of father and mother. If I am now 30 years old, but in my mind I'm still this child, and I have not moved into the father in me and the mother in me, my potential to be firm and decisive and strong, my potential to be unconditionally loving and nurturing, father and mother, then I haven't learned. I'm still small. I'm not in charge of my life. My meditation will be, I won't meditate. It'll be too much discomfort. Instead, say, when as I sit here and this information comes up, I remember what it felt like to be powerless, to have to obey whatever mom and dad did because they were so big. I had no choice. But you know what? Now that I have become father or mother, partner, spouse, I realize how hard it is to be an adult, to be a parent. There's no handbook on being a parent, right? We just kind of try our best. Now that I've gone through more years, I've listened to I've experienced being an older person, I can appreciate the hard time my parents went through. I can forgive them, I can understand them, and I can let it go and move on in charge of my life. I'm not a child anymore. How do I know? My meditation teaches me that. When I sit still, witness the pain of being alive in a human body, the Buddha's experience, the prince's experience before he went over the fence, right? Before he leapt over the palace wall and went out in the woods. This is what the prince experienced. He saw that there was suffering in the world and it was universal. Everybody gets old, gets sick, and dies. Meanwhile, we're related to all these people and most of us don't know how to do it. There's no handbook for how to do relationships. So, if we can witness that in our lives while we sit, this is the information of meditation. This is the 心地法门第一课, 第一门课, right? This is the first lesson of meditation, is come together with the information from our nature about our relationships and pay attention there. Mostly 知恩报恩. Now, if it's been painful, accept it. If dad was not there, an absent father, so many children grow up without fathers. Dad had to work. He had all this pressure on him to provide, right? Absent mother, whatever the situation, listen to it, accept the lesson, and move on. If we can heal that primary relationship, our psyche, our 心地, will be on solid roots, just like that tree with the invisible part below the ground. And then repay kindness as you can. If we can't do it now because mom and dad are not there, maybe they've passed on, maybe they're not with you, then open to it, listen to the lesson, and share it with someone else. There are so many lonely people who need good parents. You don't have to be blood parents. You can still be a good dad, be a good mom. Understand that our parents are also people who didn't go to parenting school, right? Right? So important that this, if we can learn this through meditation, it's just waiting. And thank you, Master Xuan Hua, for giving us this primer, this 入门 for the actual experience of meditation. So many of us could cross our legs and expect, Buddhas to come rub the crown of our head and lights to come out of, space and all. Well, that might happen, but not often, right? Mostly it's like, how could she possibly say that to me? How could she sing that song? My mother's just, It's like, yeah, that's reality. Get to work with that. Turn it around. Mom didn't have the handbook on being a good mom. She didn't know, right? But I'm not a powerless kid anymore. I have a lot of decisions to make in my life, and I can. And meditation teaches me that. When these relationships are okay, healthy, when I care, but I really want to go deeper, I want to find the Dharma, that's lesson number 2. All right, here we go. First thing, care. I care to make it better. I want to care to make it work. Because I care, I can open my heart to the lessons of my meditation and experience the dukkha without freaking out, experience the pain without running away, experience the boredom of meditation without quitting, right? Open to it. Learn the lesson of the mind ground. Because I can open to it, I can listen to it, all the sounds. Guan, Shi, Yin, where are those sounds? Right inside. I contain all the experiences of my ancestors. Because I can listen, the more I listen, the more I care, because I hear how painful it is to be alive in a human body. It's not a bed of roses, mostly, right? Sometimes it is, but then it doesn't last. So look how it works. This is the mind ground. If we listen, the more we care. The more we care, the more we're willing to sit there when it's boring, when it's painful, when it's dull, when it's just unbearable. We hear those sounds, but if we open to it, we understand that this is the sound of the world. And pretty soon, that the mind ground, the roots go deep, and it finds the ground water of compassion. Isn't it interesting that all the trees in the forest, all of the grasses, all of the bushes, all the plants drink from a single groundwater stream? The water under the ground nurtures all plants equally. Everyone takes what it needs and flourishes. Some take more, some take less, but it's not the case that the birch trees drink from some other water and then the maples, like it, but they wait for the redwoods. No, they all drink from the same. That is great compassion, 大悲水, waiting for us to put those roots down. How do we find great compassion? The roots of our mind find it in our hearts. Where does it begin? 孝顺. Connecting with our own roots. This is how meditation goes from being this lonely unit, sitting here, what am I doing here? I feel so silly. I'm sure everybody else is out there getting rich, and here I am sitting still. And it goes from that to, when I sat still, I joined the human race. I joined all living beings. Right? Where do you go to wake up? Same body, the only one you got to work on. Right? So we pay attention to the mind ground and the relationships, because that's what's going to come up to obstruct. Then, as you sit there, you can send out metta, loving kindness. I got a story, and to finish with, then we're going to move on to questions. So my dad's younger brother, Uncle Freeman, came down to visit from Sherbrooke, Quebec, La Belle Province de Quebec, they say, the beautiful province of French Canada. And Uncle Freeman had heard about Berkeley, California. Do you all know about Berkeley, the People's Republic of Berkeley? Oh my goodness. Berkeley, California, the free speech movement and hippie heaven, right? So that's where I live. Since 1972, I've been in Berkeley. The street where you could say the parade of the People's Republic is most intense is Telegraph Avenue. Telegraph Avenue feeds directly into the UC Berkeley campus, right into the plaza, Sproul Plaza. And on any given day, Telegraph Avenue is so full of every kind of humanity that you have to kind of turn sideways to walk to get down the street. There are vendors selling handcrafts and silver and belts and tattoos and headscarves and incense and flowers and other things you probably don't want to buy. And just all kinds of things at Telegraph Avenue. So my Uncle Freeman was there, and his two sons, Grant and Wayne, who are my cousins. And Uncle Freeman loves to kind of see the sights. If it's 热闹, 他很喜欢凑热闹. This is Uncle Freeman, because he comes from a small town in Quebec, and he doesn't get out that often. So he said, hey, let's go to Telegraph Avenue. I said, you sure you want to go to Telegraph Avenue? Yeah, I want to see it. So I said, okay, all right. So we all jumped into my Volkswagen, and we drove over and we parked the car. And I thought, boy, I'm responsible for my uncle and his two sons. And I'm at home here. I know Berkeley, but I don't think they're okay. Well, I better recite the Da Bei Zhou. So I can be ready for whatever happens, because I know that Telegraph Avenue. So I get out my beads. Recite. So we start out Telegraph Avenue. We're going down. We go through. We come out onto the avenue, and it's so busy. There are, our former indicted felon vice president, Spiro T. Agnew. What did he say? He said, yeah, the hippies, the dippies, the whole damn zoo, he said. They're there in Berkeley, in California. So here were the hippies, the dippies, and the whole damn zoo. There they were on Telegraph Avenue. And so we're walking along, and I realized that the crowd has parted. It's kind of stopped. I'm not wearing my red robe, but I'm wearing my robe and got my beads, and everybody has kind of stopped. and Uncle Freeman is behind me, and Grant and Wayne are behind him, and they stop, and they're all looking, and I pull up from I was kind of had my eyes down, I was reciting, and here is the king of Telegraph Avenue standing there in front of me. He's 6'5", African American, dreadlocks down to his waist, right? He's got piercings everywhere. He's got tattoos. He's carrying a long knife in his belt, right? He's got a black leather jacket on. He's got chains around his shoulder. He's a sight, you know. And he's standing there, and everybody, all the locals are going, uh-oh, you know, we better get ready. Anything can happen. And the king of Telegraph Avenue looks at me, and he walks over, and he looks down at me, and he says, "Brother, you are putting out powerful good vibes," he said. He said, put his palms together and did a half bow, then walked away. And Uncle Freeman is like, "Brother, you are putting out powerful good vibes," he said. Do I have to translate? How do we translate that in the Chinese? I don't know. So I passed the test of the king of Telegraph Avenue. Why? Reciting the Da Bei Zhou, right? Sending out loving kindness. That's maybe lesson number 2, is whatever rises up in our meditation, seed it with powerful good vibes. Loving kindness, Sibei, right? Just give it your best heart. Welcome whatever rises. All right, my own personal experience, dealing with what comes up in my own mind as I sit, that's the micro. Send it out to the macro. Dedicate merit to all sentient creatures. That is Buddhists' power tool to turn our meditation into great compassion. All right? Ami Tofo. What do you think? Is that a secret? Did we get a secret? I don't know. No longer secret. Now it's public. You came looking for a surprise. I hope that was a surprise. 知恩报恩. Heng Sure, do we have any questions? Anybody have a question? Okay, some masters say you should meditate with your eyes closed. Others say that this is wrong. Your eyes should be nearly shut with a slight opening. What is the correct way? Hold on. Can't go wrong. So Master Hua said, well, by the way, we are extending it for half an hour. If people have to go, don't feel bad. Last night I had people email me and say, I had to go early, I'm so sorry. It's fine. Don't worry. It's good. 9 o'clock was the advertised time. So the idea is, if you close your eyes entirely, it's easy to fall asleep. If you open your eyes completely, it's easy to be distracted. Right? Sure? So what do they say? 眼观鼻，鼻观口，口观心. So if I sit like this, my eyes are looking at the tip of my nose. My nose is looking at my mouth. Well, it's pointing down. But what is my mouth doing? My mouth is either 参话头. For me, I meditate with the Da Bei Zhou. So 口观心，南无混乱的, like that. 眼观鼻，鼻观口，口观心. Okay, so half open. Hi, Shifu. Hi. Would I be too daring? Oh boy. Would I be too daring to ask of you to gift us with more of your live performance via your magical voice? I don't know did I bring my magical voice? Let me see it. Somewhere here. Maybe it's in my monk's bag. We use AI to generate a magical voice, right? It was fun that we could sing along in a less formal and engaging way at more formal Dharma talks. Music helps to relieve stress and well suited for tonight's topic. We feel your kindness and love for us at SBL. Would you please sing more? Okay. Not a problem. You bet. Can. As they say in Malaysia, can. Okay. There are so many methods of meditation. Which is the correct one to follow and practice? Okay, please enlighten. What is Chan meditation? Chan is 思维修 and 静虑. So Chan meditation is two things, 止 and 观. 思维修 is 观. 静虑 is 止. Okay, that's what makes Chan unique. So there are two things. One, calming and contemplating. In Sanskrit, vipassana and shamatha, two things. All right, so we've got a bunch of languages. 止 and 观. 止 is shamatha, calming. 观 is vipassana, contemplating. That's what Chan, the traditional definition of Chan is. Two things. Sometimes our minds are very, very active, so we want to calm them. We do it, that is take your Vajra wisdom sword, Jingang Bao Jian, and you kill the Buddha, and you kill every thought. You slice it up. Don't allow any thoughts to move in your mind. You watch your mind ground. As the thoughts rise, you slice them. Use a broom, sweep them away. That's the zhi. Sometimes you need that because the mind is too active. Other times, if the mind is lethargic or groggy, it's too early, didn't get enough sleep, you too much time in front of your computer or your phone, you have to guan, vipassana. What you do is thoughts rise, thoughts fall. Everything that rises in the mind ceases in the mind. Okay? So thoughts rise and thoughts fall. That's guan. You don't get involved. You become a passionless observer, a dispassionate observer of the mind's thoughts. That's guan. Two different methods. Chan involves both. Sometimes in one day you need both. Other times you just use one for a week or a month. Okay? That is Chan. What is so many methods. What's the correct one? The answer is, think of a doctor with his doctor's bag. Which medicine does he use? Does she use? Depends on the illness, doesn't it? If you have a sliver in your foot, you don't take a paracetamol. Maybe you do for infection. But if you have a headache, you don't pull the splinter out of your foot. You have to use whatever, 因病下药. Okay? You prescribe according to the illness. A good meditator has all of the methods, not just one. Or, answer number 2, what is the correct way to meditate? The answer is whichever one you like. That's not a dodge. Which, if you don't like it and somebody tells you to do it, will you be happy? Will you do it? You'll quit. You'll move on. You'll go get baptized. Sing hymns, right? So, nothing wrong with that, but it's just you have to pick one that you like. Find a group that you can meditate with and enjoy. The reason why we didn't go into the body tonight is because meditation is done. It's not talked about. When I got to Gold Mountain, I thought I was a hotshot meditator since I was 14, right? Master Hua flipped it on its head. He said, look at the mind ground. If the mind ground is right, any method you use will work. That's the point. 心地正的话，哪一个法门都会灵通. If I give you a method, but your mind is thinking about your mom or your dad or your sons or your daughters or your girlfriend or it's a waste of time. 听得懂吗？懂 Okay. 相信不相信？不太相信，法师。Okay, so go try it. Can I ask how to focus more on oneself instead of contemplating self and others seek happiness from it? can I ask how to focus more on oneself? No, don't focus on yourself. That's just a will of the wisp. It's a 蒙幻泡影路电, right? What you do is you pay attention to your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Successful meditation has a lot to do with what did you do with your senses before you sat down to meditate. Okay? What were you watching on your phone? Were you watching things you shouldn't have been watching on your phone? Guess what? When you meditate, it'll be right there. The mind is a sponge. It plays back whatever you saw, right? What were you doing with your eyes? It will be there when you meditate. What were you doing with your ears? It will be there when you meditate. Nose, tongue, body, most important, the mind. Okay? So if you say focus on the self is an illusion. It's just created from whatever you do with your senses. If you can tame your senses, your meditation will be sublime. Okay? How do you tame your senses? 不杀不盗不淫不妄不喝酒. Right? Those precepts are there to give your six senses a chance to recover from the abuse that we do to them in a world of sensory overload. Right? There's just too much impinging on our senses, and most of it has a commercial purpose. My friend Tom Mayen, who I mentioned last night, Tom wrote a book about Silicon Valley, and he says they are now clocking the number of images we see any given day. Usually about 5,000 images cross our eye any given day. Of those 5,000, 85% are meant to stimulate you to reach for your credit card or your PayPal or your Venmo. They are commercial in nature. They have no other purpose but to put you off center. Commercial messages are there to tell us that we are not enough until we buy whatever it is, right? They're meant to destabilize us, to get us uncomfortable until we scratch the itch by buying. Now, how can we possibly be peaceful and happy when we absorb all that destabilizing input every day, right? So, what are we doing with our six senses? If we know that that is the purpose of advertising, we can stop it at the door. 度摄六根经念相继，入萨摩地，是为第一. Who says that? 大势至菩萨. 度摄六根经念相继. If we can close those six senses, our pure thoughts continue. That first thought is a true one. All right? So, take advice of 大势至菩萨, 度摄六根经念相继. Right? He says, close off the six. Not easy to do, but what are we doing? We are catching those doors. 六根门头, they call them, the doors of the six senses, turning them around. 回光返照, 反闻闻自性. Here's another one. For those of you who are real meditators and all this was just too basic, try this. Can you really 反闻闻自性? Take your ears, and it's just a thought. It's only a thought. But as you sit, say, I'm going to not cling to any sound going by. Close your ears. The first time I did that, somebody recommended that I try it. I got this jolt of energy. Why? Because even though I was sitting still, my ears were out there doing business in the world. You know, selecting, rejecting, liking, hating, you know, listening hard, being upset with it. My goodness, just literally, I mean it, 反闻, turn your hearing back. Now, of course, 观音菩萨那个楞严经25圣内品反闻闻自性不是那么简单啊. There's the Shurangama Sutra has Manjushri Bodhisattva. The Buddha says, here are 25 sages who got enlightened. Which one has the best method? So Manjushri goes out and asks everyone. Finally, at the end, he selects Guanyin Pusa, Gan Yuan Tong, the perfection of the ear organ. And That's how Guanyin woke up, and it's the best one. 此方真教体清净在音文, he says. Where we learn in this country is in sound. We use sound as the vehicle for learning. So Guanyin Pusa tells us how to do it. It's really profound. When you try to study it, I recommend it. Go take a look at the 25 Sheng in the Leng Yin Jing. But after sentence number 2, it's like the plane takes off and it goes up into the stratosphere. And it leaves me behind every time. But that's the method right there. So I really do recommend try it. As you sit here, just go. Now, it's only a thought. You don't grab your ears, nothing like that. You just close them. You'll get a burst of energy. So, all these different methods. Venerable, if we don't eat chicken and duck, I knew it would be food. Okay. If we don't eat chicken and ducks, how can they be reborn as humans? 哇，好慈悲哦. Okay. If you eat chicken and ducks, can you guarantee you will be reborn as a human? If you can't guarantee, you better be careful. Okay, 2 questions for 1. You got to pay me twice here. Was Buddha born in the animal realm in one of his past lives? Many, 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 many times. Look at the Jatakas, the Jataka tales. How do we meditate with our ancestors? You can't avoid it. You never meditate without your ancestors. Honestly, 怎么可以跟祖先一起打坐呢？我说没有办法不跟祖先一起打坐，他们随时随地就在我们旁边了，在心里。We just, when we ignore them, when we don't think about them, it's not that they're not there. Where did this come from? Right? This is it. Here's your ancestors right here. This is it, right? We are with our ancestors, and furthermore, we are with our children. Except I'm not. I'm a monk. But, right, the potential for my children to be right here, why do you not want to be with them? Just let yourself be with them and celebrate. Celebrate. Well, how do we want to be? We want to be someone whom our ancestors could be proud of, right? We want to be with someone, we want to be someone whom our ancestors would want to be with. Okay? Is that grammar? Does that work? Right? So, if I meditate and get connected with spirit, spirits ask for help, sometimes disturbing. Any advice? So, the problem with talking about spirits and cultivation is there's no proof. And it's the same with dreams. Many people believe dreams, but they don't believe reality, right? Things that actually happen. So if you have an experience where you hear voices, things come to you, then I'll give you Master Hua's best advice. He said, this is called a 境界. 这是一个境界. What are 境界? A state. The best, it's not a good word to translate. What are states like? He said, states are like the weather. It's always one way or the other. Right? If it's not sunny, then it's foggy. Today, beautiful weather in Singapore, rained in the morning, then blue sky in the evening. Okay? So what do? Some people, if you have voices coming to you, one way to go wrong is to be scared. Scared of them. I must be crazy. Oh my God. Scared. Crazy. Right? Wrong. Number 2, oh, you know what? I can talk to ghosts. Maybe I'm enlightened. Wrong. Also wrong. He would say, don't assume you're crazy, don't assume you're enlightened. What is a 境界? He said, pay no attention. You know what's happening, okay? You didn't ask for it, you don't seek it, you don't cling to it, it will pass on. If you think that there are spirits or ghosts coming with you, then every time you cultivate goodness, dedicate merit. Give them some goodness, right? If you can put up a pai wei in the居士林, you can help them out. You know, maybe, possibly we had an abortion. Possibly that spirit thought you were the mom, you know? I mean, this is reality. So what do? Put up a pai wei, recite, and dedicate the Di Zang Jing. That's a really good thing to do. It's a very compassionate thing, and it's proactive. It gives you something to do other than just feel grieved, you know. Di Zang Jing is a wonderful, wonderful sutra in situations like that. So I would recommend that, but don't think you're enlightened, don't think you're crazy, okay? All right. Now, one thing we did last night was gave people a chance to get some Buddhist music. There was a question about music. Here we go. I hope you did download it. Now, it's best to do it from a computer because you download an archive of the music that we sang here. The Praise the Buddha is not there. But this will take you out. If you shoot this with your phone, it will take you out to, not the compassion bot, but the takes you out here, dharmaradio.org. Singapore Medicine Buddha, Buddhist Union, Buddhist Lodge, Dharma Music, Dharma Lectures. Download the music, here it is. Go to Good Karma Music right here. Do a good deed, whatever you consider a good deed. Right here, my name is, where am I from? Am I a robot? 1 + 1 = how much? Put that in there. You can do that much, and you won't be a robot. Tell us what you did. What was your deed? I listened to a monk talk about meditation for way too long tonight. Okay, so you submit the post, and then you pick which Buddhist music album or storybook you would like to hear, including Father Cyprian, a Benedictine monk, and we will send it to you. Then you get to read the stories. Let's see, who reads Vietnamese? Win Nui Hui from Vietnam says, "You hat yong hat fat fat." Okay. Jackie says, "I bought cookies from a friend who wanted to raise funds for disadvantaged children during a festive period. Send her music." Well done. Mr. Lim, "I've been doing sutras, Diamond Sutra, 88 Repentance, Heart Sutra, Heart Mantra, etc. 48 Vows Bhamitaba in English for the Myanmar people. Hope it helps them to learn about Mahayana Buddhism. Hope their internal wars stop and peace restored in the country. All sentient beings in 10 directions are living in peace." Right? Send him music, good deed. Right? We have 500 good deeds so far from all over the world, including one guy from China who said, "I didn't do any good deed, I just wanted the music," he said. Okay, at least you're honest. Yeah. So, now, for the Singapore Dharma Assembly, you just click on that and it comes down. But the good deed is optional. You also get all the lyrics from all the songs, including "People ask me, what did you get from your meditation?" There it is. We just sang it. Okay? All righty. Now, what's the secret to get there is click on that and it'll take you out. All right. Now, there's also another opportunity here. There is a WhatsApp group of Master Hsuan Hua's Singapore disciples. If anybody wants to click on that and go investigate the group, there's already a group of Singaporeans who are. And it's a chance to exchange books and meditate together, etc., etc. All right? So there we are. Now, tomorrow afternoon, we have a translation workshop. Great fun. It's going to be on Zoom. And this is the thing that I perhaps like to do more than anything else in the whole world, is translate the Buddha's wisdom together into English. and we need all of your wisdom. It is truly 集思广益. We're going to look at two things. We're going to look at the Huayan Jing for a sutra, and we're also going to look at Zheng Dao Ge, Song of Enlightenment by Yongjia Dashi. So one is a song and one is a sutra. And we're going to look at brand X translations, not so good, and ways to improve it, to make it the very best. All right? Amitofo.